Hello, good day. In this video, I'll be talking about how to create an Excel template for data collection. Now, we know that the quality of our analysis is as good as the quality of the data we collected. And then, even though data cleaning is a very important part of the data analysis process, it is actually better and very good to make sure that the data that is being collected is actually clean to certain extent. So you want to reduce the level of dirty data that you get when you need to collect data by creating templates through which the data collectors will use for collecting the data. This will make the job easier and faster for the data analyst. So now this scenario we are working on is the scenario of a small business owner that is a shoemaker and also a cobbler. So now let's assume you know somebody that is a shoemaker and a cobbler, and then you want to actually collect, you want to use data to help this person to make their business better, to reduce their expenses, to help them to get more revenue. So the first thing is we need to actually collect their data, right? We need to get their data, then we can move on to analyzing the data and then getting insights from the data and then giving recommendations. But you cannot just tell them to just collect the data in an Excel sheet. You have to put some things in place. For example, by creating an Excel template that can be used for data collection. So that is what we are going to be doing today. And then to do that, you need some features like adding of data validation, putting some formulas and things like that. So that's what I'll be doing today. The main thing we'll be doing today is actually data validation. I'm just using this scenario to explain what data validation is. So let's get into it. So this file, now we have different columns that need to be filled. For the date, this template is for August. Now what that means is that it's only the date that will be the transaction that should be entered here should be the transactions for August 2024. So how can you make that happen? How can you make sure that anybody entering the data will not mistakenly put a date that is not for August 2024? Then we also have customer name. For transaction type, transaction type can either be product or service. So it's either they have a customer that wants to buy any of these or a customer that wants to repair these. Okay. We have payment method, which can also be any of these, and then quantity, unit price, and then total price. So this serial number, definitely it has to be an O number. So we can see that we have a blank Excel sheet here. It is because I removed the grid line. So just go to view and uncheck. Then you won't have the grid line again. So now, but another thing I want is that immediately a data is entered into a cell, I want the border for that row. I want the border to be added for that row. Immediately data is added. So how can I affect this? I can affect this by adding conditional formatting. So I'm just going to highlight a few, just 30 rows, and to show us. So I've highlighted everything now. So the first thing, I want to add the conditional formatting so that when data is entered here, the serial number, then all the rows borders should be added. So I've highlighted that. Then go to home and I'll click on conditional formatting, and then I'm going to choose new rules. I want to use a formula, and here I'm going to type this formula equals not, then open bracket is blank, and I'm going to select the first cell here, but I don't want this absolute referencing. I'm going to remove the dollar sign in front of 2. So I want this relative referencing. That will give me what I want, the borderline I want exactly. So then I need to format. So I'll click on format, and then my business is with borders. So I'll just click on borders here and then add all the borders, top, bottom, then these ones and these ones. Then I'll click on OK. Then so I need to close my brackets for the formula. So this formula is saying that if this cell, if this first row is not blank, that means if it contains something, then the borderline will be added for all the rows. So I'll click on OK now. We can't see anything now. But if I come here and input 1, and then you can see a borderline is added for all that row. If I input 2, then also a borderline is added for all that row. So I'll just delete 2 now. Now the next thing is the transaction ID, right? So for the transaction ID, it comes in this format in which we have PRO for products and then the number, which is like a 4-digit number, 0001, as the case may be. Or if it's the service, then it will be SER, then 0001 also. So one data validation that we can add to this column to reduce error is that we can see that our transaction ID now is 7 letters. So I'm just going to highlight just the first 30 rows here where I want to apply the data validation. And I'll go to data, and then this icon stands for data validation. So I'll click on this, and then click on here. I'll choose text length, and then I want it to be equal to 7, right? So I write 7 here. So text length equal to 7. You can see there are other options here also. Then I'll click on OK. So now if I come here and type something that is 7 letters, then I won't have any issue. But if I come here and type something that is less than 7 letters, then it's going to tell me that there's an issue and it won't allow me to enter that thing. No matter how much I tried, I won't be able to enter it. Okay, so now one thing is very important. I'll show us when you apply data validation, there is this input message here where you can actually type some things when the cell is selected. So here now I'm just going to put kindly input the transaction ID. Then here I'll put transaction ID is 7 letters, and I'll click on OK. So you can see when this cell is selected now, and when the cell is selected, then you can see that information. Okay. So another thing that is important is that apart from the input message, we also have the error alert. So it's important that the error alert be set to stop. That is what will prevent anybody from entering whatever is not obeying the data validation rule. But if it is set to warning or information, it is definitely going to show them the warning and information, but it will still allow the person to input what does not conform to the data validation rule. So you want to set this place to stop, and you can also add you can also customize something here. Maybe I'll just put you've imputed the wrong ID. So the error message, make sure it is 7 letters. Okay, so if I come here now and input something that is less than 7, now it is going to show me the title for the error message that I put, and then show the explanation too, so that can guide anybody that is using the spreadsheet. Okay, so that is that. And then now let's talk about dates. You can also add data validation to your dates. Okay, so I'm just going to also highlight to row 30 also, and then click on data validation, and then under the setting this time around I'm going to choose date, and then this date now we have between. So because I want the date to be for August, then that means it will be between August 1, 2024 and August 31st, 2024. So I'll just click on OK. So if I come here now and then I input a date that is in August, there won't be any issue. But if I input a date that's not in August, then it's not going to allow me to enter that date. Okay. So now we have customer name. We can't really specify the length for customer name, but one thing we can do here is that we can also go to data validation and say that it must actually, that it should be, we can specify the length, but we can use a this custom option here to say that okay, it must be text. And how do we do that? So you choose this, and then you write a formula that is saying that equals is text, then can select this now, then close the bracket, then enter. So if I come here and enter something that is a text, then it's going to allow it. But if I enter numbers, then it's not going to allow it. I hope you've learned something new from this video. Thank you.